Okay, so Jordan Peterson got himself into a little bit of a pickle. He was unable to read the room and says that Gaston or the redeemable beast. I stand for the latter. And so do the wise beauties. And people are not very receptive to this message. I'll say it like this. There's a lot of animosity coming towards Peterson, both from the left and the right. But is there a conversation to be had? He links to this Telegraph article in which, in the beginning, they point out how the left has been crying wolf for years. Almost everyone is Hitler. A lot of dangerous individuals that the media has gone after turned out not to be so dangerous in reality. So now no one believes them when they're talking about this Tate guy. But I also have a couple of interesting observations, I gotta say. And I'm not even going to discuss the trial. I'm just going to discuss the personality of Mr. Tate. Because it's very interesting. There are so many individuals online, right-wingers, that I know and I follow their accounts, who do not like e-girls. And by e-girls, I don't mean a woman that's on the internet and is making videos. I'm talking about the type of women that channel the power of lewd in order to gather a large audience of thirsty young men and get money from them, right? So these are, I think, when individuals disagree with this type of business model. They also disagree with anime in some circumstances. They don't like the fan service because apparently young boys, they're surrounded by women, but they refuse to go out with them because the anime is keeping them glued to the television. The birth rates are declining, right? So we're talking about this subcategory of people. Like, only about these we're referring, right? And there is an overlap between these individuals and their admiration for Mr. Tate. And I can't fathom to understand why. Because the business that Mr. Tate is operating, assuming that everything is on the board, there's no illegality, right? The business that he is operating is he is convincing women, like someone else's daughter, to take lewd pictures of themselves and put them on the internet so that other people pay money for that. So if you're a person, like, again, I'm just referring to that category. If you're a person that doesn't like e-girls, how can you like a man that literally creates them? This is, it just baffles my brain. I could give names, but I don't want to upset people. It's just an interesting observation. Now, I personally, for example, I'm a capitalist. I don't care what people do on the internet. If you're a mature adult, you should make your own decisions. If you make the bad decisions, you're going to suffer the consequences. If you want to give your life savings to, I don't know, Pokimane, that's up to you, right? I have no problem with that. As such, I also have no problem with an individual that wants to start a studio for VTuber streamers or for Twitch streamers. I don't care, right? But I'm consistent when it comes with my morality. I'm like, okay, it's the internet. If it's legal, go do it. But there are other people that know morality, the birth rates. Yeah, fine. But like, why aren't you consistent all the way? So that's the first question that I have. And I really thought about it. And I think the main reason, and this is probably why Jordan Peterson also talks about it, is that there are no individuals that cater to a young man that wants to be masculine. I mean, if you have a young man that wants to be more feminine, I'm pretty sure he can find support groups for that. But if you have like a young man that genuinely likes the traditional gender role of being a cisgender, heteronormative, patriarchal young man, you know, he wants to be a provider, he wants to get his shit in order, he wants to hit the gym, he wants to work hard, he wants to start a family, right? I don't know how many men are there in order to set an example for that, or to at least encourage that type of activity. And because there are no men that encourage that type of activity, then you go to the lowest common denominator and you find the man that creates e-girls on a conveyor belt with questionable personality, who occasionally says a couple of, as the internet calls it, red pills. But the thing that he's saying aren't even that, I mean, it's 2023, right? Like, the things that Tate is saying aren't even that mind-blowing. Like, he's not creating new concepts like James Lindsay or other people, right? He's just saying common sense things on TikTok. This is why he actually had the following. But at the same time, he had also questionable behavior, which we're going to see whether or not is true. Still, a lot of people keep asking me, like, for some reason, like, why don't you give your biases? Why don't you give your biases? Okay, fine, I'll give you my bias. I think he's a douchebag, okay? Like, if 5 years ago, you'd have seen a guy that just runs around in expensive cars with cigars like that, and, you know, just takes pictures with pretty women and has multiple girlfriends, and then chat messages pop up with all of these bizarre accusations, yeah, you'd say it's a douchebag. And I would not be surprised if he's found guilty. That's my personal biases. When the whole thing started, I was neutral. I was like, let's see. Well, some evidence came up, and now I'm a little bit more to the side that, okay, well, he probably did it. That's my take. I know it upsets a lot of people. I know it angers some of his fan base, but it is what it is. You know, I'm willing to rechange my mind if I'm going to see his defense. And if his defense is solid, I will change my mind again. I'm capable of altering my thought process. You know, when I see more evidence, I'm changing it. But again, the fact that the Matrix is against him, it's so hilarious to me personally, because he's not a politician. He's not involved in politics. He's not like a renowned business person that has the ability to change the world. He's not Elon Musk, okay? He doesn't blackmail people. He doesn't have information. Why is the Matrix up to get him? Surely, you know, okay, yeah, he got censored from social media, but the reason for that is that you have censors on social media that are paid to censor, and they have to censor someone of high profile every now and then to justify their paycheck. And unfortunately, last year it was Tate's turn, which turned him into a martyr. But with that out of the way, this year is going to be someone else. Every year, someone high profile gets censored. When you pay people to do something, to do a job, which is censorship, you get more of that. So that is my thoughts, okay? I genuinely think that he is not a good role model. He does say some things that make sense. It's like, okay, go work out. That is a universal truth. And you don't need Tate to say it. But unfortunately, there is no one else, right? Like, there aren't that many individuals that appeal to young men to the point where young men have to go to a guy like this to find someone that resonates with them. And again, we're talking about the young men that want to fulfill the traditional gender role of heteronormative, patriarchal buzzword. Because the current culture is like this. If you're a person that tells young men, hey, you know, you shouldn't have any responsibility, go do whatever you want, just have fun, just be yourself, just do whatever, eat whatever, don't exercise. Oh, well, that type of person gets promoted, that type of person gets pushed all the way to the top. But if you have a person that's like, no, gender roles are important, it makes you more fulfilled, you need to go work out, you need to have responsibilities, you need to clean your room, those people get suppressed, right? So you end up with a huge chunk of population that do not feel represented. And if they want to get represented, they have to find the person that wasn't suppressed. And you have to dig really hard in order to find anyone like that. So the moral of the story is that if you're a concerned liberal person that's watching this video and you want to know why this guy is so popular and why so many people are watching him, is because other people who shared a similar message, but I would say were of a higher moral fiber, were censored. Or they were discouraged from pursuing a career in order to try to teach men how to be men. I mean, if you would like your son to get advice on life from a person that runs a OnlyFans studio and does lewd stuff, you know, go for it. But I don't know how right-wing that is. I don't know, like, dating and being a womanizer and having 10 or 20 girlfriends, if that's the right-wing ideology now. Because, again, we're talking about ideological consistency. I'm not talking about, like, the average guy. I understand why a centrist or a left-wing person would be like, yeah, sure, you know, like, it's fine. You know, you can date as many women as you want. You can have an OnlyFans studio. That's fine. But if you're a right-winger and you're like, oh, well, I'm with morality, especially if you're like, oh, I'm with Jesus. And also, stop getting upset like when someone doesn't support this guy. Like, it's another thing. He's being sanctified by some people. Like, any type of criticism, and they get upset. Like, do you honestly think that if someone like me criticizes him, it influences his trial, or it's going to make his life more difficult? You're asking for my opinion. I'm giving it to you. Alright? And my opinion is, he's a douchebag. This is not going to change my mind, by the way. But regarding the trial, I do think he's guilty, and remains to be seen. If I see a lot of evidence that changes my opinion, I will change it. But until then, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the comment section. Take care.